Hello everyone, welcome to the last Inside the Majors edition for 2025. Today we're talking all things Sudspeed MEC as the start of the 2026 season rapidly approaches. Entries have been open for just over a week now, and before we know it, the practices and pre-queue sessions will be upon us. So today we're going to provide some guides for new teams to the series and also cover some of the key things teams, new and old, need to have in mind as we enter the new year. To help cover those, I will have Chief Steward of the series, Chris Sawalic, joining me in just a second, so it'll be great to hear about not just his experiences from the MEC in 2025, but also some of the real-world officiating that keeps him busy on several weekends during the year as well, so that'll be a great chat. So let's get it up and running for the last time this year, straight after this.
Hey, you know that guy who just before the green flag keys up his mic and asks, "Anybody got a setup?" Well, this is him. This is Adam, and hey, Adam needs some help. On the other hand, this guy over here, this is Steve. Steve is a solid racer and he knows his way around the garage. Steve's problem is time. With a job and a family, he can't find enough time to build competitive setups and to race as often as he likes. But as luck would have it, Steve knows a secret. He lets the Majors Garage crew chiefs do the setup work so he can focus on the racing. At majorsgarage.com, Steve can get setups for over 60 cars on the iRacing service. So no matter what series he wants to jump into, he is covered. Anybody really should tell Adam. See you at the garage.
Okay, so as I said in the intro, today we're going to be focusing largely on the 2026 Sudspeed MEC season. There's quite a few things that new teams will find different in the way that the league is run, and also some things that have changed since last year that the teams that have experienced the series probably need to hear as well. So, Chris, welcome to Inside the Majors.
Thank you, Garren. Glad to be here.
You've done a lot of work from behind the scenes in doing the stewarding role, Chris, but having taken quite a large role in making it work. What were your thoughts about the way that it all ran?
Yeah, I think it was quite the season, right? We started out kind of slow, right? It had a good plan ahead of us and had some bumps in the road. But as the season went on throughout the year, I think a lot of the processes came in and we learned each week, right? Every time we ran into a bump, we found out a way to adapt things and make things a little bit better as we went. I think as we got towards the end of the year, we built up quite some momentum. There was a lot of excitement in the teams. One heck of a championship race as we went through the season. And I think we talked from the stewarding side, there was a lot of growth there as well. Brought in some more people, did a lot of training. People got more comfortable with different scenarios and comfortable with each other and grew as a team. It was quite an amazing season. I'm really looking forward to next year.
The registrations have been open for just over a week and the take-up has been really good so far. We've got more than 80 teams registered for the Daytona 8-hour, which is round one already. Quite a few more teams that have registered for the season that haven't yet added their team into the Daytona race as well. So we're looking at pretty close to 100 teams that have already registered. It's great. And I know of several more that are still coming. Yeah, last season we started round one with 150 teams and I'm pretty hopeful / confident that it'll be a pretty similar number this year. So if you haven't got your team registered yet and you're planning on doing it, still plenty of time to do it, but probably a good idea to start getting things finalized and getting your entry in. You can register a team and still change the driver lineups. You can even change the divisions and the classes of car that you're going to run in all the way up until the end of the registration deadline, which is normally about 12 to 24 hours before the race starts. So still lots of time. But yeah, feel free to get in and get registered, add your names to the list, and yeah, it's going to be a great thing. One thing, and on that point of having more teams registered for the season than we do for Daytona at the moment, for teams that have registered, be aware that registering a team doesn't automatically register you for the events. You do still need to go to the event page after your team has been created. Even if you created your team having come from the event page and clicked on the register a new MEC team, you will need to go back and actually click the register button for the individual events and add your team to the list. So yeah, just be aware of that. We are looking in the background to see if we can do something about that to automate it, but at this point, we haven't quite a solution that works with the website structure. So do be mindful of that. One of the little intricacy that we found with the website as well that we're also going to try and work on is if you do change the roster for your team, so the season team, you've entered an individual race, the change in driver lineup may not be reflected in the individual race entry. So probably a good idea to check in both cases, both getting into the team roster from your account page, and also getting into the edit team from the event page. You've got the lineups that you want for the individual race as well. And the other thing that I'll point out about registrations at this point is that season passes can be applied to a team after you've registered for the season or an event. If you registered a team or you're going to register a team, but you haven't quite figured out how or who's going to buy and pay for the season pass, you can do that afterwards and then apply it to the team even after it's already been registered. So keep that in mind. And just a reminder that only teams that have season passes score points, but is eligible for the awards. And speaking of the awards, and I know I've been leading for a week or two in the Discord announcements channels that I'll be posting design mock-ups and examples of them. And sorry, there's been a bit of a delay. But anyway, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be moving away from the coins, as I've said, and we're going to be moving to small plaques this year. As soon as I've got samples of those made up, which will probably be in the new year now, then I'll post what those look like. But I think everybody's going to be very happy with what we've got to offer for both race podium finishes and also championship podium finishes this year. Regarding things around the race week, for those that have done the Sudspeed MEC before, this is all going to sound very familiar, but for those that are new, and there are a lot of new teams, which is great to see, I'll just run through a few things. Pre-qualifying, which every driver that intends to race will need to do, those will be hosted in the MEC League. So all drivers will need to be a part of that league. It's number 9686 in the iRacing leagues, and you'll need to apply. We don't send out invites to that. Give yourself plenty of time. Put those applications in. We'll be approving those every day or two for the next couple of weeks, and then several times a day during race week. So just make sure that you're part of that league so that you can get into the pre-qualifying sessions when you want to in race week to get those laps in. The free practices that we put up for everybody, those will be in the hosted section of iRacing to avoid any confusion of what sessions are for purpose when it comes to pre-qualifying. There will also be some further regulations specific to each event that come during the race week relating to safety car restart points, tyre allocations, and other rules that are related specific to that individual event. So be sure to keep an eye on the announcements channel in Discord. Now, for those that competed in the Sudspeed MEC or the Majors 24 in 2025, you'll be aware of the protest system that Mike at Majors developed and how easy to use it is and how awesome a system it is. Now, the plan is to use that same system again this year, though it will now be hosted on the Sim Racing Stewards website. The functionality will be the same, as will the requirements to send videos of the incident as part of the protests. And a guide will be available for that early in the new year. Although if you know where last year's guide is, that'll probably be a pretty good idea to have a look at that because, as I said, functionality will largely be the same. Just where it's hosted will likely be different. Now, Chris, as the chief in charge of the protest system in 2025, how did you find it from the admin side of the fence when it came to dealing with protests?
So the system evolved throughout the year, right? We started at the beginning of the year with some spreadsheets and really trying to manage that. And I think through the use of the technology that Mike had developed, it really streamlined what we needed to do. I think we had a learning curve on our side as well as I think the competitors did also through the first couple of events. But I think as the season went on, we saw the protests especially with the token system. The protests came in that they were more valid and things to be protested rather than frivolous type events. So it really helped us. It really helped us focus on the critical events that were being put in front of us. So I think with the use of technology and the alert system, and it cleared up a lot of the confusion as well with the race chat communication and just different forms. So it streamlined the whole process and made it easier, I think, on both sides, I'm hoping.
What would be some of the tips that you would give to teams when submitting a protest to make it easier from the admins and also to give the information that's going to be required for a decision to be made?
So the more precise they can be, the better, right? We need to know the accurate car numbers, the accurate teams involved. They need to reassure that they're picking the right information in the form. First and foremost, a description really helps if they can put that in there as well. And then we saw a lot of protests put in last year that either didn't have a video or the video link that they did have wasn't really relevant to the incident, or it really didn't provide us a good view. And as we're going through these, we don't have time to go back through all the iRacing and rewind and find it all. And at the end of this, we really want to see the story. It'll help us make a fair decision. A couple different viewpoints inside the car if possible. As much detail as you can add, because a quick 2-second clip doesn't give us much, and most of the time that'll get probably kicked back with an NFA, and we need some further information. at that point. So the more explicit it can be and really relevant penalties. So some of the smaller events that may or may not be, maybe we don't need to see some of those, but definitely if we've gone through the rule book and we know the rules, if we feel it's a protest, submit it and we'll go through it. But the more relevant it can be and the more detail they can provide would make our job so much easier and so much more efficient as well. And we can get those responses back to those teams as quickly as possible.
And for the new teams that weren't part of it last year, the token system that we brought in after the first round, maybe can you give a bit of a rundown on what the token system is and why we have it?
Yeah, so we have this token system. So as you submit a protest, you're going to actually use one of your tokens, the best way to explain it. And as you use that token, we'll go and review the protest that was submitted to us. And at that point, if we find it was valid, you get your token back and away we go. But if we find that it was an NFA or it was not a valid protest at that point, we keep the tokens. So, what that does is it really prevents a lot of, I said it before, I think, some frivolous stuff coming in. It really makes the teams think, is this going to be a valid protest? Is this something legit? Something that I really feel should be penalized at this point. So it keeps the protest sheet clean. It keeps competition moving. It keeps the stewards rolling along like they should and focusing on the real items at hand.
How did you get involved in stewarding the MEC last year to begin with?
Well, I guess, going back even, I think I started with the majors back when the majors 24 started at Tech, however many years ago it was. I think got my coin around here somewhere, but started with that first year, came in to help the stewarding and kind of been in and out ever since, helping when I can, and then really ramped up this year, really diving into how I can help the league, how we can develop the stewards. I think iRacing's really in a need for a program like this, and it's just one thing missing, and I think everybody can attest to that when it comes to the official events at times. So, really looking to get back to the sport and see how I can help, and I think it's come a long way, and I really enjoy it.
Now, speaking of giving back to the sport, we're going to move away from the MEC and iRacing here for a little bit. You do some, what I like to call, full metal racing steward work. Can you give us a bit of an idea of what are some of the sorts of things you do, some of the experiences that you've had in the last couple of years or several years that you've been doing that, and what you get out of being able to do officiating in real life racing?
Yeah, so going back years, and I grew up in the Northeast U.S., and I was involved in oval track, short track racing myself, had my own car. Got out of that, ended up working on crews for the modified tour and some of the other things and doing spotters for a few teams. I've always had a love for motorsports, and then as you grow, life gets away from you. I moved on. I always had an affinity for ice hockey. Never was able to play, but grew up as an ice hockey official. So I guess my officiating experience really started there. Did ice hockey officiating all the way up through D1 college, from 8-year-olds to D1 college. Enjoyed that a lot. And then it migrated over into iRacing. I jumped in. I drive. I'm not the best. I do what I can, but I get a lot more enjoyment out of giving back. So I've worked on the NASCAR circuit. I've worked as an on-track medic. I've worked as a fire truck on track. I've worked as a pit road firefighter on the NASCAR circuit. I was the track services director at Southern National, which is on the service here. So I'm sure a lot of our listeners know of that track. And then evolved. I got involved with the F1 series, work as the intervention marshal at all the USGPs. And then most recently as a chief intervention marshal. I also volunteer with SCCA as a track marshal there as well. I've worked at 12 hours of Sebring. I'll be working the Daytona 24 in just a few weeks, making January probably one of the most busiest months of my life this year. Always giving back. I just enjoy giving back to the sport.
Do you have a favorite out of all of those that you've either doing or have done?
Hard to call a favorite. On track EMS, as a track medic on NASCAR is pretty cool. The drivers are jumping in the back of the ambulance. You're riding around. You see a different side of the sport that you never saw when some of the drivers are behind closed doors. They act a little differently when the cameras aren't in their face, so you get to see the real side of that. But the F1 stuff's amazing. Not as much driver access, being front line on the track, running out on that track when possibly under green flag conditions, or virtual safety car, which is still not much slower than green flag if you've ever been to a GP in person. So it's a lot of adrenaline there. And just the camaraderie, meeting a lot of people from all around the world. When I work these GPs, I've got good friends from the Middle East, from England, from all over the world. So it's kind of like iRacing. I just meet them in person. But yeah, it's hard to put a pure favorite up front.
Running out on track, possibly under green flag conditions. I think it's still a bit too soon, too close to Vegas, buddy.
Yeah, well, it wasn't as close as it looked.
It sure looked close on the cameras around the world, but yeah. Yeah, I suppose the question, I've done a little bit of flag marshalling in what now feels like a distant past. I suppose the most important question is, of all of the series that you've worked with, who gives the volunteers the best sandwiches?
I don't think any of them do, to tell you the truth. They feed us very well in Vegas. We get a big giant buffet every day. That probably takes the cake for anything that I've done so far. But sandwiches, I think they're average pretty much everywhere.
Yeah. I think that might be a global standard that, yeah, the sandwiches wherever you go are piss poor. With so much going on, and I know you also run your own business, and we don't need to get into that today, but with everything that you've got on between the sim world and the real world, do you ever find time to actually get behind and do racing anymore?
Yeah, I've got a team actually. Right before we just recorded this, I was finally on with my team where we're getting ready for the official Daytona 24. So we've got a pretty smaller team. We're called Zero Fox Motorsports, and there's 5, 6, 7 of us at the most, and we usually run 1 or 2 cars, and it's a fun thing for us. We jump on. We're not super competitive, but we all just have a good time and getting together. And I've met a couple of them. We're from all over the U.S. A couple I still haven't met, but we've been really good friends for a very long time. And it's funny, my wife calls them all my fake friends. So every time I meet one, I go, I got to take a picture to prove you're not a fake friend. You do exist. So, very, very, very good group. But you just run mostly the big officials and jump in and have some fun Friday nights or something when we're looking for something to do.
So just to round it off and bring it back to the Sudspeed MEC, obviously as the chief steward and the person in charge of the admin team doing the process and behind the scenes and whatever, we're engaging with sim racing stewards to provide that service this year. What sort of stewards would you be looking for? What sort of attributes or skills would you like in the people that are going to come and help you with the stewarding of the MEC in 2026?
Yeah, so that's a good question because I think we've got a good group right now, a good base, and we're still looking for more. As the series keeps growing, and we hope it does, we need to pack the house with some really good dedicated stewards, and we're looking for somebody that's dedicated, somebody that can show up when they say they're going to. I guess that's the first piece, right? And be loyal to their word and say, hey, we're going to show up, because we do spend a lot of time, and when people sign up for those schedules, that we base a lot of things on people showing up. And then somebody that's looking to learn, looking to see the series from another side, or see just iRacing in general from another side. I think when you look at the officiating side of anything, everybody's always surprised going, wow, I didn't realize that's what happens on the other side. So, somebody that's really looking to not come in with that ego that they know it all, but come in that they want to learn. Because the big theme for this year on the stewarding side, I think there was development. We need to develop this team. We need to looking at facts. How do you look at the fact? How do you not get blinded by the what ifs and the whatnots? Somebody loyal, somebody that wants to learn, and then somebody that's got a good attitude and be part of the team. So that's what we're looking to do.
Awesome. And for anyone that isn't already part of the Sim Racing Stewards website, it's free to join, and you can see incidents that people post up there, or you think who was responsible, that sort of thing, just for a bit of fun if you like, or if you're looking to get involved in the actual admin side of stewarding. You can also sign up there to be a steward. There's a bit of a process to go through in terms of, it's not necessarily training, but then as work becomes available for stewards through SRS, and there are a number of other leagues other than the MEC that are signing up to use that service as well, then there's work available for people to pick up. Most of that work will be paid in 2026. Don't think that you're going to be leaving your regular job. It's certainly not going to be full-time work, but as Mike's said a few times in some podcasts with us recently, it's only fair that side of the work is also recompensed in the same way that broadcasters or any other role within the series is also recognised with a little bit of financial reward. Yeah, check that out, simracingstewards.com, if you want to get involved in that side of things.
And I'll back that up a little bit too as well, because as I talk to somebody that wants to get in and really see what it's about, that Sim Racing Stewards page is a really great format right now to get in and see what it's about, because you can get in and really lifetime officiate something based on a video and see the different viewpoints and things that people send. And really, as you go through that, and even myself, I've been surprised. I look at some, and you look at some of the comments underneath it, and you go, wow, I'm way off base here. So there's a lot of learning, a lot of development, and really it shows that it's not easy to officiate something on live time. Take your time, get in there, and definitely see the experience.
Well, we've got quite a few things around the MEC, but there's just a couple of other things, small things that I'll also throw in here at the end. I did say that we'd be covering stuff in no particular order, but yeah, so just some other things around the MEC for people to be aware of. The series decals have been posted on a Google Drive for people to be able to go and download and apply to their liveries. As is noted in the rules, It is considered compulsory to run the decals. Now, last year we did have some instances where trading paints didn't behave the way that it necessarily should have. And so there's a little bit of leeway or understanding that sometimes it's not your fault, but we would like to see those decals on all of the cars to support the sponsors that are supporting our series. Grab those. There's a link in both the rules and also on the announcements or in the announcements channel in Discord. Yeah, so that's how it will work for the decals. Another thing to remind teams of is, as far as championship standings and points are concerned, it's really important that your team continues to use the same iRacing team throughout. So that's based on the team ID within iRacing. Changing team name within reason is not a problem. As long as that ID or that team ID stays the same, then all of the points will align and accrue against that ID. And so that's no problem as far as championships are concerned. Yeah, so keep that in mind to continually use the same team. One of the things that I've been working through very recently is the driver ranks. As people will be aware, for the Pro-Am divisions, driver ranks are important to make sure that you comply with the requirements for those. All drivers that are registered for the Daytona event at the time of recording of this will now have a rank applied to them. This year we've engaged with a service called SimScience. They're a data mining and a data analysis specialist group who have access to all sorts of information and data out of the iRacing back end. And for drivers that are new to the series and also very close between the gold and silver cutoffs or brackets as far as ranks are concerned, and we deliberately don't say exactly where those are for two reasons. One, because we don't want people tanking their I rating to get down to silver when really they shouldn't be. And also because there isn't really a hard and fast cutoff. There's kind of a window either side of a particular bracket that if you're in that window, we don't just rely on your number. We'll then go and analyze your results and past history and trend of where your I rating results have gone and determine where we think you should sit. Last year, that was a manual process, which involved numbnuts here sitting there and looking at a whole bunch of numbers and stuff on iRacing forever. This year, with SimScience involved, they're able to give us some really fast and accurate determinations in terms of what side of the fence or what ranking those drivers should be. So we've now done that for all of the drivers on the iRacing database, which is 400 and something thousand people. So it's a pretty awesome bit of information that SimScience have provided to us. All of the rating or rankings can be appealed or asked for additional review if people aren't happy with what they've been given. But having said, they'll also be reevaluated every 2 rounds as the season goes on as well. Even if somebody is given a particular ranking and then they perform much higher or much lower than that, then there can be adjustments to the rankings as we go on as well. And SimScience will be helping us with that as the season goes on too. Yeah, it's great to be involved with a team of people who actually know what they're doing. Look, I feel like I did no job of it last year, but there was a bit of a stick your finger in the wind and see which way it's blowing type determining, at least certainly that's how it felt like from my perspective. So literally really on the ball and really accurate in terms of making sure that people are ranked where they should be and in the right way so that those Pro-Am divisions are being done the way that they should be and properly reflective of driver ability. Yeah. If you aren't sure what rank you are or have been given, there was the lookup tool, which I released a link to in the Discord announcements channel. But you can also go into the team profiles and the ranks for all of the drivers in your team will now be showing up there. So yeah, any issues around that, feel free to reach out to me and we can look at things again if you don't think that it's right. But it's based on proper analysis and proper data this year. So yeah, it should be pretty spot on. So I'm sure that there's a whole bunch of other things that people have questions around the MEC that I haven't covered today or that I haven't been able to think of. Always happy to take questions through the Discord and help out wherever we can. There is a registration guide on the MEC homepage, which should help with registrations for anyone that needs that. Please also do, as a first port of call, go and have a look into the rules. There's a search function and there's a table of contents. And so if you've got a particular question, you should be able to find some information around it fairly quickly. So please have a look at that as well before jumping on the Discord and asking questions. But having said that, if there is confusion or something that's not covered, then more than happy to take questions through the Discord. But yeah, I think that'll about cover it for MEC today. But I really want to thank Chris, you for coming on today to have a chat about things. And also all of the help that you give and all of the effort that goes into what you do for the Sudspeed MEC. Thank you. And please don't ever leave, because I wouldn't be able to do it without you. But yeah, thanks for coming on today and having a chat. And yeah, looking forward to working with you again in 2026.
All right, same here. Looking forward to the season. Look forward to seeing everybody.
Just before we go, there was one more majors event to finish off 2025, the 2025 Iron Warrior. This is an event that we exclusively those that managed to compete in every single race for their region across the year. So we had 17 entries for what is essentially a demolition derby in the street stocks around a short oval. Congratulations to this year's winner, Don Dolson, who somehow managed to survive the carnage and came from third and a long way down on the last lap to win. So well done, Don. There's a diecast model headed your way as the Iron Warrior winner. I'd also like to give a shout out to Nathan Dowd, Wayne Hutchison and Jason Lottridge, who all finished on the lead lap, which coming from many, many laps down several times, they all got back there towards the front. And also especially to Jason, who actually led going into the white flag lap, but it was battered from pillar to post on that last lap with the P1 next to his name by everyone that got a chance to. And so unfortunately didn't get the job done. Also, a special shout out to Ewan Baker, who, having led the most laps in that race, also accumulated the most X's or incident points with 188, most of which I think was other people running into him from both in front, behind, and any which way that you can imagine. And I'd also like to give a special shout out to Jake Fox, who took it upon himself to not even try and win the race, but to just cause complete and utter carnage throughout the whole thing. And Jake, you made it an absolute blast, and it was hilarious. So yeah, thanks to everybody that was involved in that. Well done to Don on getting that win. For anyone that ever wondered whether it's worth doing the Iron Warrior at the end of the year, it's always a blast. As several people have posted in the Discord this week, some people start and park races purely to make sure that they're eligible for the Iron Warrior at the end of the year, which is always a great hoot. So I think that's about it for 2025. It's been an amazing year. MEC, obviously going into season 2, has got some momentum behind it. The Majors 24 this year, first one that's ever had rain and had lots of it. It was a brilliant event. So yeah, thanks to everybody for being involved in that. Again, 11 splits, huge event. It's the unofficial special event on iRacing. And the Major Series had some amazing events, some great competition throughout the year, and I think capped off by that amazing championship fight and finish at the last round in the Americas, where it literally went down to the last lap. And I think 3 or 4 times during that last race, the championship lead swapped hands. So yeah, it's been a great year. I hope you've enjoyed listening to some of my waffling on this podcast. We'll be coming back again in 2026, although I might be moving to a monthly podcast rather than trying to do it every 2 weeks, especially during the MEC season at least, just with so much on my plate between Real World and running that. Yeah, squeezing time in to do these podcasts is a little more difficult, but yeah, they'll definitely still be there. So yeah, can't wait for that. Yeah, thank you to Sudspeed and Sim Science for coming on in 2025 and continuing in 2026 with your support of the majors. And yeah, on to bigger and better things, hopefully in 2026. Have a Merry Christmas or Merry other holiday of your choice to everybody around the world. And yeah, look forward to seeing you in 2026 in MEC Majors, the Majors 24, and here on Inside the Majors. I'm so fucking scattered at the moment, end of year shit and trying to finish shit up at work and, the clusterfuck of all clusterfucks,